and there's nobody over here, so you don't have to wait for a red light when there's nobody coming in either of the other directions. They conflict. Some of the software that deals with managing congestion conflicts with existing software that has managed timed traffic on major roads, particularly in Sarasota County, east-west. That has to be worked out. It is being worked on. We have tried to get the MPO a repository of issues for signals so that FDOT can hear about them and so that the MPO can hear about them. And I'm encouraging staff to continue that because it's worked pretty well. It's still very green. But the root of the problems in signals, besides conflicting rules which get worked out, is the same thing I first mentioned: money. It costs money to redo a system. Tampa is spending, what, 85 or 58, I'm dyslexic, $1 million, Tampa, on redoing its traffic lights. That's Tampa. And we have similar problems here. They're not as big, but they're expensive. Software writing is expensive. So we have the same problem with signals that we have with surface, that we have with bus schedules. It's people with conflicting needs working out how we're going to go from A to B. Okay, that's really the structure of the MPO. Now, why I held up the map will get you into what I'm talking about. We have one road for over 600,000 people when you include our edges like Charlotte. That takes us from north to south. That is I-75. Manatee County is lucky. It has 275. So you can get across northern Manatee County faster than you can get across any part of Sarasota County, even probably Laurel Road, which is the shortest distance between the trail and the interstate. Then we have the yellow strip. That is US 41. That is the Tamiami Trail. That used to be all there was. There was no other way to get from Tampa to Miami than that road. And for us who live here, and it's true in Manatee, they have more north-south roads. In Sarasota, there was nothing else but I-75 and the trail to go north-south all the way. So much of what has gone on has been a great effort to devise further ways to go north-south. There are plenty of ways in both counties to go east-west. So what you have seen is the extension of Honore Avenue, and I'll get into that in a little bit, and an improvement of US 301, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But these are efforts to allow us to grow without running over each other and get where we want to go without congestion. So, my first example, of course, is my favorite example, which is the Venice bypass. The Venice bypass is in US 41. It was 2 lanes in each direction. It was built when the Intercoastal Waterway was put in to allow people to get around Venice. And so the road was put in to allow people to get around the bridges into Venice. And it was 2 lanes each way, with 6 lanes at the south and 6 lanes at the north. Speaking about congestion, that was approved by the MPO finally, after 20 years, and after a lot of discussion, because it is and will be for some time the only way to go from Tampa to Boca Grande. When you want to go to Boca Grande for Mother's Day at the inn, you couldn't get there when traffic was bad. That's just an example. That is the only way. There will be another way sooner rather than later, but nevertheless later, and I'll get to that. The bypass was passed, the approval for the bypass was passed as essentially one project after years sitting as 3 projects because there was no money for the whole thing. Until the MPO got to realize that, number one, there had to be money for the whole thing because the public could not conceive of building, whatever it is, 3.5 miles in 3 pieces with 3 sets of money over 8 years. It's crazy. Money was allocated to do the project both in Venice and in the county after a long set of discussions. I won't go into personalities and I won't go into details. It was fascinating. The system worked. There were trade-offs for other projects. And that's one of the biggest things that the MPO does is when you get a really crucial need and you get all the players listening and talking about it, they find pieces of money in different pots and can put them together to get something done. So the trail will now be built and finished in 2019, I think. It will be done in sections, but the way it's being done is you will not know that they're in one section and then another until it's finished, and they're all done. A lot of work, but it shows that the work pays off. Second, that wonderful pink bridge for bicycles over the trail in Venice. That, nobody had ever thought about that. The Legacy Trail is a nice bike trail that's on a railroad. But there was change in federal law that allocated a lot of money from surface to bikes. It's less expensive to deal with bikes than it is to build a 6-lane highway. I mean, that's what's going on in Washington. Guess what? There is $2 million available. We went after it. Everybody talked about it. We realized how important a crossing of that major highway, north-south, was for the bike program. The money was allocated. The county, Sarasota County, threw in $1 million, and it was built. This happened in 6 weeks. It wasn't built in 6 weeks, but the deal was put together and sealed in 6 weeks because people talked about it, argued about it, and everybody said yes. Then there's one you don't know about. It's called 15th Street in Minnesota, in Manatee County. Where is 15th Street? Is that where you want to go when you're on university? You want to go to the airport and you have to go around? Because you used to be able to go straight and up 15th Street into Manatee County. It, of course, goes by the MPO headquarters, but that is not the reason that money was allocated to improving 15th Street. 15th Street runs through one of the most congested and developed commercial areas in Manatee County. And it was 2 lanes with no margin, no bike lane, no shoulder, nothing, 2 lanes. Money was found from various places in the federal and state program and put together to widen 15th Street to 3 lanes with shoulders, the 3rd lane being turning, so that the business in that section of road would not die. That happened pretty quickly. I don't remember how long that took, but not that long, because a need was expressed and made evident at the MPO, and we all talked about it. Another one that may have people scratching their heads here. Why are we putting roundabouts on the trail in Sarasota with all that traffic? Well, Sarasota, as the people on the commission know, and people who live here in the city know, needs to have better access to the Gulf of Mexico and to Sarasota Bay. Roundabouts, everyone agrees, slow traffic down. And that's the idea of these roundabouts, is to slow traffic down on the trail through Sarasota so that it is more manageable and so that people can walk across and bike across to the water. Why can you do this, you crazy people? Because the MPO and Manatee County in particular, but Sarasota has played a big role in this, had just finished improving US 301 from Bradenton down to 10th Street. There are now plans, believe it or not, to widen US 301 in the heart of Sarasota so that it will be continuous down to the trail. And that's why you can slow down traffic on the trail, because planning looked at 301 and said, this is the way to go. Back to square one on 301, just this is for fun. I picked up one set of kids at Tampa Airport. The other set of kids came into Sarasota Airport at the same time. What do? You go down 275, you cross that beautiful bridge, you get off on 19, you go through Bradenton to 301, and you are at Sarasota Airport in 20 minutes. Except I got every single red light on 301 from Bradenton to Sarasota. So we still have some signal problems, but the future is going to be good, because that's going to be how you go from the airport to the airport. And that has been planned with a great deal of discussion. River Road. There's no money for River Road. River Road is the road that dead ends at 75, that had that poor Mormon family go through a traffic light at its intersection with Venice Avenue and get wiped out, and why we now have these wonderful flashing stop signs. That is going to be 4 lanes to Charlotte County. There's no money, but it is going to be 4 lanes. It's on a priority list. Without funding, Sarasota County is looking for special funding from Tiger Grants, which is a separate source of federal fund. It will reduce accidents, injuries, and deaths on River Road. It will get done because it is now the #1 priority on our list. We are also dealing with a major study which the Department of Transportation has agreed to provide for us on better access to the barrier islands down to Siesta Key, from Anna Maria to Siesta Key. How do we get back and forth and move around on those islands better? The answer is not necessarily bigger bridges or more bridges. We'll see what the study comes up with. But as an example, nothing is perfect. The Ringling Causeway was built after a study, and that study did not differentiate between people going to shop on St. Armand's, to eat on St. Armand's, to live on Lido Key, or to live on Longboat Key. Consequently, the bridge isn't big enough, and everything backs up at the beginning of the bridge. If you could get off and do a water taxi, and I have suggested this, that may be cheaper for people who want to just go and shop and eat in St. Armand's, and they may park in Sarasota. And you can take it from there in your imagination. There are more potentials now that there are more players with better ideas, and the study is going to look into every nickel and dime and white line there is. And you're going to see a pretty good study. Finally, this is not the last, but it's the most famous. University Parkway. There was no money. Plus, the MPO had seen a diverging diamond movie, a video, that did not excite us and had mountains in the background, and we thought, oh, this really has to be appropriate. Well, FDOT set up a new exhibit that puts you in the driver's seat on a diverging diamond without any mountain. And it's not too bad. You have no idea that you are crossing the line of traffic when you're driving. You just don't know because of the way it's laid out. But that's not the real story. That was good PR after the department and the legislature and both counties found the money, because a few people met a few other people at the right time in the right place, and the people were the right people, and they got together and they found $114 million to do this project. They sold a diverging diamond, and it's going to not only be built, but unless we have one of those things we haven't had for a few years, it will be finished ahead of time. So keep your eyes on it, but it wasn't a mistake, and people did not sit on their thumbs. Keep in mind, there was no money. The plan that we were looking at did not make sense. And a bunch of elected officials, thank you, plus a really, really strong Department of Transportation got together and found a way. Not because of Benderson, not because of Lakewood Ranch, not because of failing bridges, not because of no lights, but because the people needed a solution to a set of problems which developed over time without anybody really noticing. This organization I'm talking about, with help from the right people, got it done. So you got two things coming on that you're going to love. You won't see them next week, but Bee Ridge, which is a state-signaled set of intersections at Bee Ridge and I-75. It's going to be redone, and it's going to be much better. The lights will work well, we are pretty sure. There's going to be a semi-diverging diamond so you can get onto Cattleman South without holding up the rest of the world. And Hanson Boulevard is my last example. It's my favorite example because anybody here know where Hanson Boulevard is? It's actually Hanson Street. It is the northbound left exit just before Bee Ridge on the trail. That was going to be closed off for safety reasons. And FDOT had come to the MPO and presented its case for closing it off. But if you live between the trail and the bay, which is called by real estate brokers west of the trail, you couldn't get home. You have to cut through the shopping center parking lot there if you could make a left at the intersection before there was not a traffic light until Field Road. There was another one that never is long enough near Trader Joe's. But it would have been a disaster for the people west of the trail. They came to the MPO meeting and they spoke. They wrote letters. FDOT listened. FDOT said no. The MPO said yes, leave it open, and we won't approve it. FDOT said, well, we won't get your funding approved if you don't approve this. And anyway, we have a few more stages to go through. So the MPO approved a plan to study the elimination of the intersection. Guess what? Everybody listen. Hanson Street will be redesigned and you will still be able to make a left turn. The people spoke, the MPO listened, FDOT listened. We argued. You've got to watch some of the TVs, they're all on the website. The people won. It works, ladies and gentlemen. That's why this organization is so terrific. And when you're in it and watch how these people discuss things and how they work together, even when they fight, you have to be proud of our democratic system. It's at least one organization that functions. Thank you very much. I will take any questions. There's a lot of stuff I didn't even get to show you, but that is the 2040 Long-Range Transportation Plan. Lots of wonderful maps. Everything